Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Juvo Hub podcast, your helping hand in property management. We thank you, everyone, for being on our show. This is episode 70. I am your host, Jonathan Saar, and with me today is Mark Howell from Howell Creative Concepts. What's cooking?
You know what? Man, we're cooking up some great results and some good tips.
That's right. That's right. Today's topic is about to-do lists and time management and managing those to-do lists and expectations. Always a big topic. And I know, Mark, you teach classes on time management. So we look forward to your thoughts and comments. You wouldn't think there isn't a whole lot to talk about. Are we talking about just like sticky notes? Is that what we're talking about today? But there really is a dark side when it comes to all of these things that we have to do every single day. Isn't that what you think, Mark?
Oh my gosh, listen, yes. And in property management, it's so funny. Anytime I've tried to teach a time management class, I can see everyone kind of roll their eyes, or I get these gasps, and then somebody will say, well, we just never have enough time during the day in property management. And I get it. There's always something to be done. But it truly, if you really think about how you use the tools that are in front of you and these objectives that we'll talk about, there is time. We just have to learn how to manage our tasks and manage the things around us better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So great topic for today. So what are our objectives for today's episode, Mark?
Yeah, so some of them, or one of them is, why is it important to celebrate every achievement, no matter how small it might be? I love that, because I think when you give yourself tasks or goals and then you do a little celebratory or celebration about accomplishing it, it just motivates you to want to move on to the next. Also for your teams, how do we break the mindset of always needing to be doing something? I love that. A lot of people always say, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, my hair's on fire, I'm always doing this and always doing that. But sometimes when I'm with them, I see a lot of downtime, I see a lot of chitter chatter or other things. So I'm wondering, is that a mindset, or in your mind are there so many things for you to do? Anyway, the third one is, how do we gain more by doing less? And this will be interesting for you and I to talk about. It could be using technology, it could be implementing some new things. So yeah, 3 great things that we will try to uncover in our short time together.
Yeah, I look forward to community feedback on these topics as well after they listen to this show. So let's focus on the first objective. Why is it important to celebrate every achievement, no matter how small it might be? If it's okay, you said something in the intro there. I loved it. It's like, it doesn't matter what we've got done. You kind of use the expression, do you take the time to celebrate? Mm-hmm. Now, we're not talking about like a party with streamers and a DJ, but
hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah, but is it that in your head, right? Like, not a literal celebration, but it's like, okay, project finished. You get up and okay, that's good. That's good. Celebrate that moment. I have struggled with that my entire career. I'm interested to hear your feedback, Mark. Like, what does it take to stop and celebrate what you have accomplished?
Yeah, look, you have to build that in your teams. If you are not celebrating with them when they've accomplished even the smallest task, then they're never going to want to feel great about taking on some of the really big tasks that you're putting in front of them. It shows them, again, that they may not be as appreciated. And as we all have felt that sort of overwhelming sense of burnout, or, oh my gosh, when this task is done, I have to move on immediately to that task. And you have to be able to say, all right, let me prioritize, what am I working on for the first 2 hours of my day? And then I'm setting a little alarm on my phone that at 12 o'clock, this alarm will ring. And if we have met this goal, if we have been able to accomplish this task, and let me take it from just a me perspective, I would say, you know what, if I can get this done, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to go out to the staff. I'm going to, pick someone to talk to. How are you today? What can I do to help you? That can be a celebration. It could be a mental celebration where you are showing them that you're human, that you're spending time with them and you're taking a break from your day, your routine to say, hey guys, y'all want to break for a quick coffee date. I used to call it date your employees, not literally, but set date so you can
HR issue there.
Yeah. Sorry, HR. But it's setting dates with your employees where you can say, hey, at 3 o'clock, let's all get together. Let's make sure that our tasks are complete, and let's have coffee together, or let's have a snack together. I brought in cupcakes, or whatever it is that you guys do or get into, that you are sort of preemptively setting that sort of date and that celebration that gives people something to really sort of push through. When I think about accomplishing a task that is daunting or that is a little overwhelming, the idea sometimes of, wow, well, the reward is at the end and I really want to get there. I don't want to disappoint. So it is figuring out what is that reward. And like you said, no, we don't all have to go to happy hour, but it could be a 5-minute, coffee break, cupcake break, whatever that looks like in your world. So just think about, how are you celebrating even the smallest of accomplishments?
Yeah. Very good. I love it. There was a couple of resources too, you and I were reading over, and I like this one particular statement because I remember, years ago, I went to therapy for a little bit just to kind of help me through some life challenges that I was facing at the time. And I always appreciated his comment on, because he was able to kind of explore that in my mind, I would finish the day and start counting the things that I didn't get done versus looking back on the day and saying, oh, I got this done, this done, this done, this done. And that was really, really helpful, because I felt at a certain point in my career that I was really going through a bad burnout. And that I know for sure contributed it, that mindset of, and so what does that do? That pushed me at the time, it's kind of like opening myself up a little bit here on the show, but it's like, I wind up working till 11 o'clock at night or 1 a.m. or whatever, coming back from a trade show and keep working until the next, appointment that was coming up. Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought about when we're looking over this topic, is just, I never celebrated the accomplishments because there was always the expectation, well, you need to do more. And so that created its own issue with me. And it was a terrible cycle to be in. And so important to, for all of our listeners, don't, if you take anything from that brief little experience, don't get caught in that rut of measuring yourself by how much you got accomplished and devaluing what you are and what you have accomplished by this list of things that you're like, oh, I didn't get that done. Oh, I got to get done. I got to get, and you're just in this mindset of trying to figure out how you're going to get all these things.
I want to point out something very valuable that you've just said. You said you learned that about yourself. You do that to yourself, right? But what will be fascinating is if you think back to a team that you've led, and I don't know that you've done this, but only you can know this. If you were the type of person that didn't stop to celebrate your own accomplishments and all you were trained to do was, okay, well, I just have to keep working, get this done, and you overworked yourself, did you also potentially do that to some of the people that worked for you? Or are you doing that today? You know, like that's something that is very valuable. You have to, just because your mindset may be an overachiever, and Jonathan, I could totally see like you just digging in data and research and technology and just keeping you up all night. But if I worked for you, I would be like, buddy, you got me until 6 o'clock and then I'm shutting my computer off and you. But that may not create a really great working relationship for us, because you would become resentful and you would feel like, well, I'm the only one that works late at night, but I don't want to work late at night. Like, don't take that away from me and my family because your mindset is a certain way, you know?
Right. Right. Awesome point, man. Yeah. Thanks for interjecting that. Appreciate it. I got a little furry visitor here who's come down to
Furry
visit.
coworker.
Yeah.
I see him or her.
Yeah. She was enthused about this topic and decided to.
She has a couple comments she wants to
add.
Yeah.
Like, I achieved something. I chased 3 squirrels and I ate my breakfast, and I'm really happy about all that. So thanks for visiting me, Kona. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That is so true. I'll have to think about that. I hope I've never done that to anyone, but definitely do I remember those environments and that mindset? Yeah, I'm still learning. And hopefully, we know all our listeners, we'd love to hear from you on what you've done to get yourself onto that mindset. So that leads us to our next objective. How do we get out of that mindset? How do we break the mindset of always needing to be doing something? Like it's almost like it's like an addiction, and then clinically, that's, we're not doctors. This is not a medical show, but we know that actually exists. So that's separate. Like, if you need to go to a doctor, then by all means do so. That's your choice. But in general speak, Mark, like, what do you teach? What have you seen to help people get out of that mindset of always just, go all the time?
It's a fascinating question, because I think inherently you're probably built that way. Your minds, many of us have very different personalities and driving factors in our lives and in the success of our work. So where I think back at some of my friends or past leaders, bosses, whatever you want to call them, how hard they wanted to work or how driven other people were, I think it's a balance. I think that when I've looked at other people's lives or their success and what they had to sacrifice to get there, I wasn't willing to sacrifice some of that. And so I think that your question is so deep, but in a way it has to be very individual, because you have to decide what is the most important thing to you. Is it the success? Is it, what people think of you? Why is it that you feel like you constantly have to be doing something? And is that a nervous issue? Is it I need to show somebody something? I think there are some reasons there. And like you said, if you want to go and sit down with somebody and talk that out, figure that out first. I referenced something about understanding your story once before. Your story meaning, why are you? What creates you? What creates the way that you communicate or the way you receive information, the way you deliver it? What are your triggers? I think all of this takes a part in that. When you can't, if you do struggle with celebrating those small little accomplishments, you're probably the same type of person that does feel like, oh, I need to keep going, more, going. And look, if that's successful for you and you're not burning yourself out and you've taken time out to spend with your family and loved ones, whatever that is, or enjoy a hobby, then great. Make sure that you have a balance is my biggest sort of, I guess, tip would be, sit down with yourself and ask yourself, put it in buckets, if you will, on paper. Where do I spend time? What gives me enjoyment? Why that gives me enjoyment? and how do I accomplish or what takes away that enjoyment. I mean, I think when you really think through the psychology of what is it that's on my to-do list? Why do I keep going? Why do I keep doing all this? But where is the enjoyment and what brings you that enjoyment? And then what takes it away? Do those kind of pros and cons lists. And hopefully maybe you'll find a better balance. I don't look, I am not the type of person that wants to just keep going, going, going. So sorry to answer this question in a very long way. I figured out my balance long ago. Also, we could talk a little bit about your circadian rhythm. I talk about circadian rhythms in time management. When are you at your best? For anyone who knows what your circadian rhythm is, it is, when do you function the best? Are you a morning person? Are you a night person? So what's fascinating about that is I think some people are overworking themselves because they work all into the night. But what I don't know about them is they don't get up till noon, or they don't actually start working till 1, and I'm like, I'm done with my day by 5. So
Yeah.
your circadian rhythm is very individual to you. And it is very, very valuable for you to figure out when are you at your best and your brightest, so you can use that time wisely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And you mentioned a couple things about like having a hobby and so on. And I know that was a help for me. I mean, it took me long enough to actually get a hobby. So mountain biking is my diversion. I had to purposely do that though. It wasn't just, a random item. Same exercise though. So great comments, Mark. Like you have to take a minute to figure out who you are and realize that that's not the essence of who you are, is just working 24/7, and I'll share a funny story. I'm probably going to get fired as a son-in-law for sharing this story. I love my father-in-law to death. He's one of the hardest working dudes. I've known him obviously for many years. My wife and I are married 30 years coming up, probably by the time that this show is broadcast. But he's retired now, and I don't think he's quite found the retirement rhythm, because my wife and I will tease him whenever we're having chats and stuff, and he'll use the expression, I don't know if I'll have time for that, or I'm so busy right now, and we'll joke with him and tease him about it a little bit, and he does. He keeps himself very, very busy. I know he's got lots of things to do, but it is kind of like you're in that mindset your whole life of working so hard, and you get to the point of retirement. Technically, by definition, you really, shouldn't be, all that busy or not having time for anything. So that's, I'm just kind of using my poor father-in-law as a for illustrative purposes of like where that mindset can go, because you're just you're always thinking of working. So
listen, I have a mother. Anybody that knows me knows that my mother is still working full time, and she's 88 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I have asked her 1,000 times. I'm like, Mom, why are you doing this? Go and relax. Like, go and enjoy retirement. She retired once and then went back, and she said it to me in a way that I've never forgotten. And she just said, working gives me purpose, and it does keep her very, very sharp. For an 88-year-old woman, she can carry on a conversation and use words that I don't even know what they mean. Like she's very sharp, and her brain is, all of her faculties are there. And so she just really amazes me. But I get it. Not all of us are built the same way. I completely intend on retiring as soon as I can and enjoying my life with travel and fun stuff. But she was like, I enjoy working. Her brain needs to be stimulated very differently. And so I think that's why I said, like, we're all so unique and so different, but yeah, so like your father-in-law and my mother, they're just really go-getters, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we applaud them.
Yes.
Yes. Respect them. We applaud them. That's fantastic. Remember the objective of today's show.
That's right.
Not putting down the older people by any means, just talking about making sure we don't get burnt out from too many to-do lists. Okay. So I have a feeling I'm getting fired as a as a son-in-law after this show. So stay tuned for that announcement. So let's go on to the last one. How do we gain more by doing less? So intriguing objective. How do we gain more by doing less? We were kind of chatting about this, Mark, before, we recorded this, and just like, what does that mean? We see articles that use that question, that reference. And personally, some of the leaders that I follow and kind of read their story, you can't imagine I can't imagine what it's like to manage a multi-billion dollar company, but they're very, very focused, those leaders of those companies, and how they take their day's work, and it's very much in a compartment for doing certain things. Like, there's none of this weaving and crossing over and going from one thing to another. Is that how you see it? Like, what's been your like, how do you go about your work day? Is there a way to do that? How to gain more by doing less? What are your thoughts?
Well, I love the statement, gain more by doing less. I never feel that way because I'm a party of one. But when I do talk with some of my clients, and I talk with some of the leaders in those organizations, we do talk about this. And there are a couple things. It can be technology, allowing the technology that you're using, or finding the technology to help implement ways of, look, let the technology do some of the work for you, the reporting or the analytics, or find out what you don't know through that technology. Also, here's a huge one. Many people in a leadership role, we do take on so much of the work because we feel like we're the only ones that can do it. And it's a huge misstep, because when you aren't choosing someone in your grasp, in your organization, to delegate some responsibility down to, you're doing a few things. You're first killing the internal growth vine, which tells people, somebody will have to die here before I can ever get promoted, because you're never really letting them take on some more responsibilities, even if the position isn't created or available. By allowing them to have some of your responsibilities makes them feel more empowered. So, but that's the thing that you have to be comfortable with, and many people aren't. And that's what's very frustrating, is that we are basically telling our employees that we don't trust you enough with the responsibilities. Well, if you don't, and I've heard that I'll ask them, why aren't you delegating more of the work to other people and getting them ready for the next steps of their career? And they'll say, oh, well, they're not ready. They're not ready for that. And I look at them and I say, if they're not ready, who does that fall on? Why are they not ready? And then they're like, what do you mean? They're dumbfounded. And I'm like, it's you. Like, if your employees are not ready, then you are not giving them the leadership and the guidance that they need to be ready. But it goes back to the gain more by doing less. Like, if you can delegate, learn the art of delegation, learn the art of cross promotion, being willing to, I call it letting go of your ego. Sometimes it is about ego. It's like, oh, nobody can do it as well as I do, so I'm just going to do it myself. Like, oh my gosh, stop doing that. Stop saying that. But that's my take.
Absolutely, man. That is absolutely spot on. What a great take. Delegating, so that more is accomplished. I love it. So I'll just wrap that objective up with, sorry again, audience, for another exercising type metaphor, but I just couldn't help but think, and I know a lot of our audience, you're either, whether you ride a bike or you're a runner or you're in aerobics, it doesn't matter what exercise you're in. You have to focus on one thing at a time. And sometimes in work, we're like a moth to whatever light is flashing at the moment. So, I got to answer an email. I got to answer a phone call. I got to go to that meeting. I got to handle this project. And you're just kind of like bouncing all over the place. And you lose so much energy because you're just all over the place. There's only so much your brain can handle. And because what do we do when we exercise? We focus on one thing at a time. You don't do one bench press and then go do one, squat and then one of this. You you do things in sets. You complete them. When you're running, you don't run in 15 different directions. You run. And then if you have to take a left, well, that's because it's part of your route for the day. You take that left and then you go on that path. And then, all right, you run. It's just the way it is. So to me, that's how we gain more by doing less. It's just understanding how our brain works and trying to avoid that flying around to all the different things that we have to do. Well, that was episode 70.
Yay.
Great conversation. And Kona's back again.
Yep, your coworker's back for her treat.
She thought it was a good conversation too. So she's been on 2 episodes straight. Well done, Kona. Thank you for your contribution. Mark, how can people connect with you?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, Mark Howell, Howell. My company name is Howell Creative Concepts, which is spelled a little differently, HOWL creativeconcepts.com.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with our audience. Yeah, please check out Mark if you need any leadership training or training in general. He's got all of his topics listed on his website. My name is Jonathan Saar. Please take a moment and go onto your favorite podcast station and subscribe to this and share it with your network. You can also find us on YouTube and on Instagram, and sign up for our newsletter on juvohub.com. Until next time, class dismissed. Thanks, Mark.